I'm just north of the city of Sioux Falls, just north of Interstate 90 and north of 229 on a piece of property that the city of Sioux Falls has owned for many years. This property was originally purchased to meet the city's water needs in the future. We were going to, at that time, the plan was to dam up Slip Rock Creek and create a reservoir. Since that time now, we have rededicated the property for another purpose. About 2.5 years ago, members of the South Dakota Veterans Council approached Councilor Rex Rolfing and myself to see if we could assist them in identifying property that would be suitable for a state veterans cemetery. At that time, we were informed that South Dakota is just one of 5 states in the nation that does not have a state veteran cemetery. Currently, the closest cemeteries for veterans are located in Sturgis, South Dakota, and Fort Snelling, Minnesota, which is obviously quite a distance for our veterans to travel and for their families to travel. South Dakota has over 72,000 veterans, which incidentally is very high on a per capita basis. Over 50,000 of those veterans live East River. So the veterans on the east side of the state have been underserved in terms of their cemetery and burial needs. Well, as you can see, the crop has been removed recently, but this property north of town is made up of rolling hills and a couple of different creek beds to the east and to the south, shelter belts to my back, and the view is absolutely spectacular. It's breathtaking, and quite frankly, I get emotional when I think about this being utilized as a state veteran cemetery and looking at the rows and rows of marble headstones. It's an absolutely breathtaking sight, one that I think we're very fortunate that we were able to identify this as a site for the State Veteran Cemetery. The cemetery is intended obviously for veterans and for active duty members that were killed in service to their country, as well as members of their family that are eligible. Their spouses would be eligible, and any dependent children would be eligible as well. And the federal government would reimburse the state of South Dakota a little over $750 for every veteran that is buried here at this site, and that money then would go back in support of operations of the cemetery in the long term. I've been asked, why is this necessary? It's necessary to pay back the services that our veterans and our active duty members have been performing. As I mentioned earlier, they've been underserved in terms of burial options. Their family members have committed much and are often overlooked in this whole process as well too. While I did not serve in the military, my father did. My dad, Bob Kiley, joined the United States Navy back during World War II, actually lied about his age at the time of enlistment and went into the Navy at age 16. I did not fully appreciate the impact that serving his country had on him until just weeks before his death, when he was in hospice, and he started to relate a little bit about his time in service. It was at that time that I learned he had actually been at Normandy during the D-Day invasion, and he couldn't really tell me any more beyond that. So I dedicate this to our veterans and to their families and to my father, in the memory of my father as well.